Hi there, welcome to Community Made, the podcast dedicated to exploring the powerful ways we connect in our lives, our work, and our business. I'm your host, Ingrid Zapata-Reed, and in each episode, we'll dive into genuine conversations that shape our sense of belonging, offering insights and real stories about building meaningful communities in life, in business, online, and offline. Let's grow! Janelle Quinn is a values driven financial educator, speaker, and retired U.S. Air Force officer whose mission is to help others experience true financial freedom. After 2 decades of distinguished military service and leadership, she founded Empowered Investor and 3-5 Wealth to make personal finance and investing practical and purposeful for everyday individuals. Her approach blends structure and heart, equipping learners with the knowledge to make informed financial choices and the discipline to act with confidence. Janelle reminds every learner that financial freedom is not reserved for a few. It's achievable for anyone willing to learn, plan, and take consistent action. Hi, Janelle. Welcome.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited. You and I have been trying to make this work for the last couple of months, and I'm so happy to finally have you here. You and I were connected on LinkedIn, so we were like seeing each other post and supporting each other. But I spent some time looking at your website, your LinkedIn thoroughly, and your Instagram, and your journey is amazing. You used to be in the Air Force, right?
Yes, I retired in 2017, but fun fact, I joined the Air Force with my twin sister.
Oh my,
And so
that's
over
amazing.
over our career, we were stationed together 3 times.
That is and that was out of like, you didn't plan to be stationed together?
No, well, we entered together. So for most people, here I am in Texas, Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. My twin sister and I were one of the first individuals as twins to get stationed in the same flight. So normally they separate siblings, but in 1997, to our knowledge, we were the first twin sisters that were able to be in the same flight during training.
That's beautiful. So, you're retired now from the Air Force. Is your sister still in the Air
No, we're both retired. We're both retired military officers.
This is
Mhm.
so awesome. Well, thank you for your service and for all that you both did for our country. But from being in the Air Force to now, a veteran and hitting financial independence at 45, can we just look? I'm getting close to that. So, can we just talk about how you even got there and where it all started? Because this is a conversation that I know for a fact everybody should hear. Not only, if you're in your mid to early 20s, because you need to plan ahead, especially after college and once you get your first job, but also for people like me now that I have 2 kids and I have a business and I'm trying to figure out how to make it all work. Can you walk me through how you got to that point?
Absolutely. I actually had this call yesterday with a cousin of mine. She just graduated from college and now she'd like to join the Air Force. And so, being a veteran and someone that's gone through the process, I took the time to walk her through my journey. So, this is a perfect question. But at 18, my twin sister and I joined because our mother let us know honestly she could not afford to send us both to college. She let us know early on, so we had a decision: go to college or join the Air Force. Well, I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, so we have an Air Force base there. I got to see military personnel. My uncle was in the Air Force. So we enlisted in the junior year of high school.
Mhm.
18 when we joined, I had been working at Burger King and fast food my whole senior year. Joining the Air Force, getting my first salary paycheck, I was like, wow, I made that for following orders, for doing what I was told. I knew then.
Yeah.
I knew as soon as I entered the military that it was probably going to be a 20-year career. But as soon as I made it through training, you're going to realize I was enlisted, and then there's officers.
Right.
And I learned that officers, one, they have leadership roles, but they also make more money. And I started strategic planning as soon as I joined the military. But, I talk about goal planning a lot on LinkedIn. I think it's important that you set goals.
Yeah.
No matter what age you are, if you're
Mhm.
18, 28, 38, almost 48 like myself,
Yeah.
you still need to set goals. And so my first goal, I've shared it on LinkedIn, I wanted to have $5,000.
Mhm.
To get there, I had
Yeah.
to take stock of what I had. I had about $3,000 when I joined the military. So I wasn't very far off from my goals. And as I, say on every platform, Once you make a goal, set a new one. Make the goal and set a new one. For me being enlisted, I also wanted to get commissioned. So that was one of my first goals. Take my first college class as soon as I could. But I wasn't just talking about college, I was talking to commission officers, and they helped set me on that path to commissioning. And within 8 years of joining the Air Force, I crossed over as an officer.
That's awesome.
And that put me on that I was on.
Yeah, congrats. So growing up, first of all, I love that your mom was able to talk to the two of you and sit you down and, being realistic because raising a child is a lot of money. I forget what the numbers are, but I think right like 2 years ago, the report said that it was over $300,000 around to raise a child through like the 18 years. It's a lot of
Mhm.
money, and a lot of people don't realize that that's just probably what we're able to record. Now imagine everything else outside of that. So it allowed you the opportunity to really think for yourself and see what are my options and what can I do? So, going back to how you were brought up, and even at that point in your life, how did you find the right people or resources and tools to even educate yourself? Because money is like it can be a taboo topic, and a lot of people are afraid to even discuss it or bring it up, maybe because of their experiences with money. And so, are there any tools, resources, or connections that you made that helped you get to that point of, like, I can do this? And you probably had the support of your sister, like the two of you, I assume, were maybe in this together too. So, what would you recommend for someone that's struggling because money can be a rough convo?
I'm thankful that my mother was always open with us because, different generations, children can't have open conversations with their parents. If my mom had not been honest with us, we could have still gone to college. Our grades supported it.
Right.
But when she started talking to us about the cost of college, in my senior year of high school, Johnson and Wales Culinary School was in Charleston, South Carolina. I went to orientation. I was sold. I didn't know my mother wasn't. I didn't realize what the tuition figure that was given to us was out of range
Right.
for me. We got in the car and I'm super excited. And my mom turned and looked at me and she said, "So, you're not going to Johnson and Wales?" And I was like, "But what I missed was what the tuition was." And she honestly sat me down and said, you won't be able to afford to pay it back."
Yeah.
The Iron Chef was not on, Food Network at the
Hmm.
time, so there weren't Bobby Flays and
Hmm.
Masahara toes that I could look at. She didn't have that point of reference. And so then, it came about that my uncle was in the Air Force Reserve. We had a living example who also was able to tell us, "You can do anything." Even though he told us that, we said, "But we like what you're doing." And so he started coaching us. When I joined the Air Force, I found real world mentors, people that actually did what I wanted to do. It's important. If you want to be successful, then you need to find someone that's also successful doing exactly what you want to do. And that's what I did.
Yeah. I feel like you and I connect a lot on our content on LinkedIn because I mean, as you know, and nobody's surprised by this, but I talk a lot about community. And I truly
Yes.
believe that the people that you surround yourself with play a big role in who you end up becoming, or even if it's through seasons, because I'm also a big believer and you can start anything at any point in your life. And I say this to my
Mhm.
mom all the time, like, whatever it is that you want to do, you can still do it. Like, you have so much time ahead of you. And so the people that you surround yourself, I believe, is just as important as the tools, the resources, the education. So I'm glad that you bring that up because it also lets people know that we can't do it alone. Sure, it has to be our initiative. You want it to. You want it to meet this first goal of going from 3K to, 5K. But it's also you need the support and the resources and the right people around you to get there. So now maybe fast forward, and you can let me know how much of a fast forward this was, but you took 60K and grew it into a multi-million dollar portfolio. Multi-million.
I did. Well, with help. And so, yes, at the time I was stationed in Ohio.
Mhm.
I got a cold I got a cold call from TD Ameritrade, registered investment advisor. I'm still friends with the individual that called me. But he said, "I've been appointed as your advisor." And I said, "Oh, I didn't know I had one." And he says, "Well, I am your advisor." I had just started to really get into day trading in selling stock.
Mhm.
And because I had sold some stock and made some profit, I guess I came up on the radar. His question to me was, we have different portfolios that we can put you in. It depends on how much money you have available. And so I pulled up my account and I saw what I had liquid that I wasn't spending, and it was 60K. And so he says, well, with that 60K, we can take it into a portfolio and we can do these particular things for you. That was the most important call that I've ever made. Because when I hit 1 million, he's still on LinkedIn, just with a different company. I took a screenshot and I said, this is where we are today. And I still have that screenshot. And he was excited. He's like, oh, Janelle, this is great. This is great. This is wonderful. And that wasn't that long ago,
Yeah.
2010, when my daughter was born, my first daughter was born, to 2017, because I retired, I consolidated some of my portfolios together.
Right.
But that one call made me really start thinking about investing. And of course, we had a bull market
Mhm.
that helped.
Right.
A bull market, the market continues to go up and up and up. And so as I made more rank in the military,
Mhm.
I desired to continue adding to my investment portfolios. And over time, I could see my gains
Mhm.
going higher, higher, and higher. So yes, it was an initial $60,000 from my TD Ameritrade at the time advisor. I'm just so thankful that I said yes.
I feel
Yes,
like if I received a call like that, I honestly think that I would be overthinking every nook and cranny.
yes, yes. I'm thankful. Now Charles Schwab
Yeah.
is and they're just as wonderful, and I trust them to continue helping me grow my portfolio as well.
Yeah. Now, well, one other thing that I always think about is that a lot of people think that wealth building is only for the privileged. And I feel like this is a thought that you really need to work on just pushing out of the way and rewiring your brain. So, how have you, even personally and for friends, family, people that you talk to, when you do interviews, like how do you break down that barrier for the people that feel like that financial freedom is out of reach? Because even like for me now, when I think of the kids and eventually college and all the things and wherever the world might be in a few years, like I'm like, I don't know. Like I have no idea. So how do you break that thought apart and just rewire your brain to say, I deserve this too, and I can have it?
I'll share generational wealth. The wealth I inherited from my mom, who has passed away, was knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't born with a silver spoon, but I was born with two parents who told us we could do anything we put our minds to.
Mhm.
And that's true. My mom blessed us and said, you have my blessing to join the military. While she wanted us to go to college, it's because we didn't have the money
Yeah.
to go and get everything we needed. So for me, I think it's your desire. I also read a lot of books. When I started investing in the late 90s, it was the library,
Hmm.
Money Magazine, anything that I could read that would give me the information I needed to make wiser decisions with my finances. That's what I did. I think it's a lack of financial literacy. Even I do budgeting for wealth sessions. I had one scheduled for this morning before this call, and I sit down with individuals and we go over the budget. When I was enlisted, I was making a decent salary, but I still had about $300 left over at the end of paying my expenses. My concern was for people who were married with children making the same rank. And that's when I started budgeting and making sure I knew my money was intentional.
Yeah. I love that because there's a lot that comes with wanting it, but then there's also the actions that you take. And right now, I feel like we live in very interesting times when and if you've been listening, you probably hear me say this all the time, but there's no shortage of knowledge. And with, no shortage of knowledge, I think comes opportunity and really putting yourself in a spot where you can learn and you can ask. And so that brings me to, and maybe I'm jumping to this now, but you have a community, right? That you build on the Circle platform. Can we talk
Thank you.
about that and how you bring people together?
Well, I would love to tell you first how it came about. So, last fall, when I did leave corporate America, I was able to do that because of the time that I've been investing in the market. I could have gone back into another corporate position, but I also looked at where I was financially and, as a blessing to have a multi-million dollar portfolio at 45 years old and didn't inherit any of it. W-2 earnings and investing, I thought maybe it's time to share with other individuals who did ask, how did you do this? I said, well, community is important. I didn't do it by myself. I had to learn, and I wanted to bring together a community of individuals that felt safe and secure, asking questions from someone who had done it. When I was a young airman in Japan, I lost my first $2,000 investing because someone said, buy this stock. I bought the stock, but I didn't know how to exit.
Mhm.
I took all of those experiences and packaged it up into 3-5 Wealth Community where individuals can feel safe to say, I don't know
Yeah.
what I don't know. And this is a community that you can ask those questions.
Mhm.
And I also do have a stock class that I just finished my first cohort last week. So we made it through our first cohort, and so I'm very proud of that.
Congrats, by the way, on building this community because it
Thank
is not easy, but I really do admire people who take their experience and decide
you.
to share it with others because that is how we grow. And so I really appreciate that. But also, in a time where all of these startups are offering and giving away stock like it's candy, right? I think it's a very important time for people, especially out of college and young people, to understand what it means to get this stock and understand how to exit. That's very when and how and why and what to do next. But could you imagine? I mean, during the pandemic, we saw a surge in a lot of stock pricing, and I know there was a lot of people who didn't act on it when they should have. And now looking back, the price is not the same. Right? It's like
Um,
yesterday's price is not today's price, is what my husband always says. And so I appreciate that you're doing that because it is very much needed. And sometimes you could, depending on your journey in college, you could learn this, but most of the time you don't. And sometimes it
right.
takes time and I guess maturity, personally and professionally, to get.
And discipline. Discipline is key. I've made a lot of money. I've lost a lot of money. There are emotions you have to manage
Mhm.
in bull market and bear markets. Sometimes we can sell too early, and sometimes we let good stock rise. I'll give you an example. During COVID, I was working.
Yeah.
So I had sometimes 60 to $100,000 gains that were paper gains. I assumed those prices would always stay that way.
Mhm.
I didn't realize sell-offs because I wasn't needing to focus on the market when I was working. And so now I'm sharing that kind of information. Sometimes it's important to take profit
Yeah.
because that profit could be here today and gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so I help with strategies on that.
I love that. Wait, now as an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
because you've been there, you've done the career, it's got you to where you are now, and now you're in a different phase in your life, surrounded by a lot of entrepreneurs. For those who are listening and thinking, well, I don't have my W-2 anymore, and I'm my own employee, my own boss. What are some first steps that you could suggest starting with, or what would you recommend for those that might be feeling a little scared?
So I had to go back to my basics.
Yeah.
When you're making a lot of money, sometimes you don't manage it as closely as you should. Well, I am now working off of investments
Mhm.
and my retirement. And so I'm more mindful of how I spend my money.
Yeah.
So now I have my budget up behind this screen that you and I are on. And I'm literally being more intentional about every dollar
Mhm.
because I have to. I'm not only just a mom, a wife, I'm also a business owner and I'm in my foundational year. So sometimes I have to separate the assets that I have personally to consider the assets that I have as a brand new business owner. We're all on the same level playing field at that point. Because as you just stated, we just launched a 3-5 Off community in July.
Yeah.
So we have close to 40 members, and I'm very happy for each and every individual that's in our community. But right now, my purpose is to ensure I'm providing the value
Mhm.
that individuals who want to learn about trading and investing can, achieve in our new community.
That's so exciting. There's so many things. Every time you answer a question, I'm like 5, 10 things to talk about now. But your children,
Yes.
like what are their ages?
15 and 14. I
Okay.
have two
And
daughters.
how do you talk about how do you have you since they were young incorporated the money mindset and financial education?
Yes.
What tips do you have for parents?
So one, my 15-year-old just started working
Mhm.
2 months ago.
Okay.
She's probably received 4 paychecks, and on her last paycheck, she said, "I want you to put this entire paycheck in the stock market."
That's amazing.
She wants some of her paycheck to be put into her investment accounts. That's a mindset change, and I pray that when her peers start working, she'll share the knowledge that you and I are talking about. This is how you raise future financial freedom
Mhm.
individuals.
Yeah.
The younger they are when they start, I'm in a financial planning course.
Right.
In last course, we were talking about financial calculations. We all know the earlier you start investing, the higher the probability of you having the investment portfolio you're seeking when you're our
Yeah.
age, when you're retirement age. And so the younger you can get the generation to start saving and investing, the better off they'll be.
That's true because then you have the opportunity and the time to learn and
Founding.
take action, whereas the older you start, it can be a little trickier.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yes, both of my daughters understand the importance. Now Temu and Shine beat me to or Sheen, forgive me. They beat me to the door.
Yeah.
So, they're still children, they're still enjoying life, and we can't take that away from
Yeah.
them. But we also have to talk about the balance.
Mhm.
Uh, it's important. Yes, you're working, and I'm going to allow
Yeah.
you to enjoy the fruits of your labor, but mom and dad are always going to be here to also talk about
Mhm.
balance.
Yeah. And they will be very thankful the moment they realize, because you come across even peers that you're like, wow, nobody told you about this? Let me share. And so they will be very thankful. And even that my oldest is about to turn 8, and we try, like my husband and I both try to talk to him. And it's very cute because he's still like, he understands to his point of what he's grasping. But it's really funny because he thinks about brands and like his toys. Like he's like, can I invest in Nintendo? And can you? And so it's really cute to at least see that he's thinking about it. And so we've been having conversations of like, your birthday money, you could get
Mhm.
this and we can find different ways. So like at least having those conversations can instill that drive, I would say, that maybe some of us didn't grow up with.
Yes, my youngest likes Starbucks. And so we talked to her about Starbucks is a company that pays dividends.
Mhm.
When you start doing exactly what you're doing with your son, they're going to start growing up and looking at companies that they like to
Mhm.
say, should this be a company that I should
Yeah.
be a part owner in? That's what's most important.
Yeah.
The ownership, letting children know that when they own the stock of a company, they're now part owner in the company
Mhm.
and they stake
Yeah.
in the profits of the company as well.
I mean, you think of creators and influencers and even ourselves as human beings living life every day. We support these companies in more ways than we probably should. And so the least we could do is find ways to be more involved and get a part of what they're getting, right? Like we deserve a little something more for using them and promoting them, even when we don't even mean to. So I agree.
Yes.
Now, is fire an official term
Yes.
or is that something
Yes.
you created?
Yes. No, no, FIRE, that's a term that's been around for a while. Forgive me, I don't wanna say it incorrectly. Financially independent, retire
Yes,
early.
financial
But
independence, retire early.
well, that is the term. Now, I've seen CNBC has a FIRE series,
Okay.
and they talk about the individuals that have fired.
Mhm.
Most go back to freelance work or consulting work, but what they're basically saying is, "I don't see myself working completely the way I was to
Yeah.
get to this point." I'm at that point. I'm still doing consultation work.
Yeah.
I'm still building a community, but I believe my new mission, I've
Mhm.
said it before on LinkedIn, in the Air Force, my mission was to fly, fight, and win.
Yeah.
My new mission is to help people invest, save, and grow.
Mhm.
And and until, you know, there's no more work left in me,
Mm.
that's going to be my new mission.
Mm.
I fired early so that I could take on this
Yeah.
mission.
I love that for many different reasons, but it gets you thinking because even now, like myself as an entrepreneur, you really start to think like I don't ever want my work to be done. And so I kind of want to work on my own terms. And so I want to make sure that we're financially set and secure. But I just feel like there's going to be so much more, especially as you get older and you gain more experience and more connections and your interests change. Like, who knows what I'll be talking about in 10 to 20 years, right? And so I feel that, and I agree with you because that's essentially where I see myself, like I still want to have some independence and still be able to give some back through work. And I feel like that's probably how most entrepreneurs feel. Like you're still building and there's so much once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur is the way that I I think.
I think also knowing your why is important. I could never not want to help people
Yeah.
find financial freedom.
Yeah.
And since May, I've probably met with over 60 people, and each person has a different reason for why they want financial freedom.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know a path to get there.
Right.
And so studying financial planning helps me, one, because I want to stay on the right path,
Hmm.
but it's also some individuals don't have the money to hire a financial planner. And so they really never get the guidance they need to move towards that next level. And so being retired helps me because I don't really do it right now for the money.
Yeah.
I'm doing it one because I know there's so many people out there that just want an opportunity to taste financial freedom.
And so that brings me to another question that I feel like a lot of us have felt at one point or another, but for someone who feels behind on saving or investing, and I know you said taking it back to the basics, but what would you say to them?
First and foremost, don't compare. Don't look at the person to your left or to your right. I've heard many people say, I should be further along than I am today. Look at really where you are today and set realistic goals for you today. I'm even, having to reset certain goals, but don't compare. When we do our wealth sessions, I ask, what is a short range goal you have, a mid range goal, and a long range goal? And I found when we work on the short range goals and help someone meet or exceed it, then they can start working on other goals.
Mhm.
But don't compare. Goal planning is key, and doing something that you can realistically achieve, that's really a mindset thing. And I think you can build on your goals after that.
Yeah. What would you say has been, looking back, the hardest part of your journey, and what has it taught you about resilience and discipline?
It was challenging. I am married to a member still in the Air Force.
Okay.
So having children changed everything for me.
Yeah.
I thought when I joined the Air Force that I was going to hit a certain rank, I was going to be in a certain position,
Mhm.
and then I became a mother. All that changed.
Yeah.
Making my way up the military corporate ladder, I kind of capped myself. I could still be in, but I became a mother, and so my finances also changed
Oh, yeah.
because
Oh,
I
yeah.
made as a mother, I made decisions to say, should I continue in the Air Force,
Mhm.
become a particular rank, or should I be more available for my
Yeah.
children? I do not regret the decision that I made to retire at 20. So I think it's important to put family first.
Yeah.
It was difficult being mill to mill, as we call it.
Yeah.
In the time that my children lost having both parents in the military at the same time, I'm now trying to give back. I'm trying to make sure I'm available. And I think that's why I prefer to budget.
Yeah.
I'd rather live a lifestyle that is not flashy, not extravagant, but right what I need so that my daughters have mom at home.
Mhm.
That's true financial freedom.
Yeah.
People think multi-millions of dollars means having a flashy car,
Yeah.
a big home, and going on vacation. To me, it's seeing my children off like I did this morning, waving to them at the front door,
Mhm.
praying over them and telling them to have a great day.
Yeah.
That's financial freedom to me. And it was worth every sacrifice
Yeah.
that I had serving.
That's definitely one of the things that I learned after having my first. It was more so of when someone was like, "Oh," when I was in corporate, I would always get the emails and the calls of like, "Why don't you come and work for us? And like, we can offer you this much and a pay raise." And I'm like, "Yeah, but what about the time? You can offer me 10, 15, 20K more than what I'm making now, whatever that number is, but is it gonna be more work? And will I have to be available during times when I can't?" Like, especially with, can we talk about drop off and pickup? Because that
Or sick
alone
or sick children.
that alone is its own thing. Like, even my day stops right now at 2 o'clock. And I could maybe have a little bit of extra room to wiggle to like 2:30, but then I'm really cutting it close. And then I pick up my kids, which is beautiful and amazing to be able to do, and one of the reasons why I became an entrepreneur. But then it's snack time, and then it's homework, and then it's after school activities, and then picking up my number two, which is my little guy, and then the day's done. Then you come home, shower, dinner, bedtime, and then you can start over, but not until the next day because I'm too tired. I don't want to do anything at that point.
Yes, and even in the summer and on spring break.
Yeah.
When we were both in the military,
Mhm.
We just had to drop them off, and see them. But I remember when the kids were younger,
Mhm.
they would be the ones picked up.
Yeah.
Broke my heart. And I know it's just the way it is being a
Right.
parent.
Yeah.
I worked. Those were the days when I would sit down with my budget and make sure I could put more money up.
Mhm.
I had a goal to save more than 50% of my income.
Yeah.
And I started doing that because as the girls were, and they were 5 and 6 when I
Yeah.
retired, 5 and 6, and I've been home with my children ever since. That is the most important blessing
Mhm.
for driving a car 20 years straight. I mean, I've had a Forerunner for almost 20 years. That's the blessing
Yeah.
of making sure that I could be with my kids today.
Yeah, and remembering that things last. I feel like over time, companies, organizations are just, things have become disposable, but things can last. And I think
Mhm,
it's important to also see where you're investing your money and think about the longevity of all of these
mhm.
purchases that you're making.
Quality
But
over
do you
quantity.
have any guilty, purchases that you're like, "No, I still like, despite my discipline, I still need to have these things that I need to get."
I'm starting to take care of me. I'm starting to go to the salon more, get my nails done
Yeah.
more. For the longest one, we couldn't,
Right.
I couldn't wear my hair like this in the military.
Mhm.
You only have one life to live.
Yeah.
And so for me, now it's me time, it's self-care. I joined a gym last month.
I love it.
I I walk into the gym now and I already feel better. I
Yeah.
feel stronger. My back doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
I feel like my gray hair recedes just a little when I go into the gym and then it comes back when I walk out the
Right.
gym. But taking care of me is better for my husband.
Yeah.
It's better
For
for my
everyone.
children and for the individuals that I connect with.
Yeah.
So out of everything that I've ever spent money on,
Mhm.
now it's me.
Yeah.
My gym membership is like $40 a
Right.
month, but it still feels great
Mhm.
knowing taking care of me. So that's my guilty pleasure. My guilty pleasure is me.
I love it, as it should be. Um, do
Yes.
you have any purchases that you've ever maybe regretted or looked back and said, looking back now, I probably should have done something different? Or do you believe in not regretting purchases and learning from that?
What I will say is I almost made a purchase that I didn't make.
Mhm.
I flew from Texas to South Carolina home on leave,
Mhm.
and my husband is the kind of person, he want to go on the car lot. And I said, no, we shouldn't, because if we do, you know what's going to happen. And in 2019, right before COVID, we visited, saw my dream car, which was a QX80 Infinity. I had the money available. And that's another issue. When you have the money available, you could make bad decisions. And I got cornered by a really good Infinity manager and almost bought a vehicle when the car I still have, the Forerunner, was at the airport in Texas.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I have a way to get out of quick decisions
Mhm.
that could cost me.
Yeah.
I said, I need to speak to my Charles Schwab financial advisor.
Yeah.
I have to sleep on it. I have to talk to them. That small break
Yeah.
was able to make me think, oh, I got out of it.
Yeah.
I got out of a decision. And so for me, thankfully, I think you should give yourself at least 24 hours when you're getting ready to make a very large purchase,
Yeah.
because that was one I didn't need. Here, my car is still working and still available for me, but that would have been, had I made that purchase,
Yeah.
something that I would have probably regretted.
I love that you share that because a lot of us are guilty of falling prey to marketing and advertising and really good salespeople, right? Because that's their job.
Yeah.
And so, my
Mhm.
next question, I'm glad that you shared what you did because my next question to that was, how did you manage to, like, do you have a system that maybe you like to share or teach about how you can kind of bring yourself back down to earth to say, do I really need this? I do something like you where when it's things that we don't necessarily need, but we want, I add to cart and then I walk away. And
Yes.
9 out of 10 times I forget and then I don't spend the money.
Yes, well, I have my husband, he's a great help.
Mhm.
But for definitely, Susie Orman had a term 20 years ago. She said you can have a daily decision or you can have a decade decision. I was getting ready to make a decade decision because the amount of money that I was getting ready to put on that vehicle, it takes some people decades to make. She says, people get really wrapped around the axle on daily decisions like, should I have my cup of Starbucks? I try not to make people feel bad about a Starbucks. But when you're getting ready to walk on a car lot and a vehicle is upwards of, what an infinity cost, that's a decade decision. You should not make those going in. You need to be able to sleep on something like that. So for me, I sleep on decade decisions.
I like that. Now, have you, aside from the community, and I love the content that you share on LinkedIn, what else have you found helpful in spreading the word about the work that you do in your community?
So, Seven Eagles Academy.
Hmm.
And most military personnel, when they're retiring or separating, they're now going into a program. It's called SkillBridge. It allows military personnel an opportunity to experience the industry that they want to go into. And so, about a month ago, one of the active duty service members that I was stationed with almost 7 years ago, she's now in SkillBridge. She's been following me on LinkedIn. And what SkillBridge loves is veterans that have transitioned out and are successful, and then you come back and you tell your story. And so I did that last month, and now they've asked me to come back to speak monthly. And what I love is two of those individuals have now joined my community. So to be able as a veteran to share my story from when I joined at 18 to when I retired at 38 to now what I'm doing at almost 48, I'm going to continue giving back. And this isn't something that I'm paid to do, it's something that I love to do, inspiring other service members to know it is scary leaving the only thing some of us have known for 20 to 30 years. But I'm here to kind of hold their hand and say, come out, it's okay.
Yes,
And there's a community for you too if you would like to learn how to trade
that's
and invest as well.
beautiful. See, I feel like one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that you need to take advantage of the communities around you. And sometimes we just don't even realize that maybe we've either been close to one or a part of one or someone that we know. And so I'm so happy to hear that one, they have their own community for that and that they found you. Like you put yourself out there, which is not easy, and people notice. And is the one thing that I always say is even if you're not getting the likes and even if you're not getting the reach, I promise you there's people watching and there's people consuming and we all consume in our own ways and sometimes we don't double tap and sometimes we don't share but we think about it and that's what happened and now you get to be a part of that and with that with you giving the more that you give is the more that you'll get it multiplies it really does and that's really
Yeah.
really cool so you're doing that that's feeding
Mhm.
into the community you're showing up on social media and we're
Mhm.
getting close to the last few months of the year. Do you have any other goals for the last quarter or even as you think, into the new year?
I'd like to, and it's not all about the numbers,
Mhm.
even though, I met you one through
Mhm.
Entreprenista. Some of our sisters in Entreprenista. It's really about the value.
Mm.
I would love to grow our community so that there are more people confident
Yeah.
about what's going on in the economy,
Yeah.
that tariffs don't scare you, inflations don't scare you. Even when I talk to some of my family members, you would think inflation is a bad word. If our finances are in such a state that inflation or interest rates or tariffs affect you, then we've got work to do.
Mhm.
We've got work to do.
Yeah.
And I'm praying that I'm part of the solution.
Yeah.
I'm praying that I can reach individuals where they are and help guide them. I'm not the most experienced. I'm not a certified financial planner. I'm a certified project manager. I do have a certificate in financial planning and I'm recertifying. But my goal really is in the next few months that we have left, continue building up my skills, continue improving what I can do so that when someone meets with me, I give them something that they didn't have when they met me. That's really my goal, just building skills. And of course, the value that we bring to the community, that happens when someone joins.
Yeah.
I do feel, as I mentioned to you, right now we're so new that I'm doing the majority of the engaging,
Yes.
but community, there's no I in team.
Yeah.
I am looking for individuals that need interaction as
Mhm.
much as I need interaction.
Yep.
And so I pray in 2026, I'm just going to put it out there in
Yes.
the atmosphere.
Let's
I'm
do
going to
it.
say it out. I pray in 2026 that the 3-5 Wealth community grows with individuals who want to learn more about trading and investing as much as I do and ask the right questions in the community to keep our engagement up. I put it out there.
It's out there and it will be received. And I have no doubt in my mind, I've seen the way you engage and even your knowledge right now. Like you are living proof of what you're trying to help others do. And you've worked really hard to get to this point, and people need to know what it takes to get there. But I'm so excited because you're out there, you're sharing your story, it's growing. 40 members is a big deal, Janelle. I hope that you're taking the moment to think through that and like say, wow, I'm really doing this. Okay, if you had to pick freedom of time or freedom of money, which comes first?
Freedom of time. Time is something we can't get back. I can make more money.
Yeah.
I cannot make more time. And that's critical. My time is critical. Spending the time with you today is a blessing, but it's only so much time that we have. And so I'm thankful I get to spend it with you today.
Me too. And that we get to spread the word of your mission and what you're building with others, because that is like my one and only thing is how can we teach, how can we educate, how can we take someone one step further to be like, huh, I needed to hear this today. And I know there's so many gems that you dropped today that are just gonna hit everyone left and right. I'm so happy that we had the opportunity to finally make this happen. I'm following you on LinkedIn, I'm cheering you on, and I'm here to talk about all things community whenever you're ready. So thank you. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today, Janelle.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Community Made. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you're always up to date on new conversations. You can find more about Community Made and sign up for our newsletter at communitymade.substack.com.